Like, how much did that experience as a high school kid, having to mold yourself and having to handle that advice from your coach, help you versus maybe if you were just on the team that you could just roll out there, be one of the five, get your points, get your scholarship, and just always be on the best team?
That's a good question, because like for me, it was never an option. For my sister, it was never an option. Like, hey, you go to Revere High School, that's where we're going. We don't do any of this.
Interesting.
We are not moving to do any of this. You're not going to a private school. This is where you work with what you got. That's what life is. And it was what we were always taught. Like, hey, this is the hand you were dealt. This is where you're going. You're going to make with this team what you can. And so it was never even a thought. And now, like, even looking at it now, like I never transferred schools because it was like absolutely not. This is what I chose. This is who you chose me. I chose you. We're going to stay loyal to this. And this is just what it is, finite. And so, but to a certain extent, and again, that eventually molded me into the game that I play today, which I'm thrilled with. I'm very happy with
it served you so well, of course.
Right. I think which I'm thrilled with the mentality that's put me on, because I think there is, and to get a little bit into the weeds here, there is a lot of guys that were on those teams that jump to hey, this is already, this team's already, cooked. I just get to jump on them and, here we go win the state tournament. Which again is a route you can take. But, I think now where I'm at is I think we're seeing a lot of guys, when you get to try to make it to the NBA level, from college to the NBA, you have a lot of guys that never learned how to do all the in-between things that I had to learn how to do in order to keep my teams competitive. A lot of guys are just like, I scored 40 and he scored 30 and he averaged 25. So therefore we won every game. I didn't have that. I never averaged 20 in my life. Nobody on my teams has ever averaged 20 until the NBA. But and so I had to learn all the little nuances of how to win the game, and that's why I think now, like, we're seeing a lot of guys that were so talented from such a young age and so prominent early have a hard time finding their way into the NBA because. Again, and I just heard Draymond talk about it the other day on social media, because on every team, there are maybe two, sometimes on a great team, 3 guys that get to do kind of what they want. They get to play that top end game where you can average 20, average 25, average whatever it is, and you get to shoot all those shots. Maybe 2 to 3. So that's what, 50, 60 guys in the world that get to do that at the highest level. The rest of us, you got to find other ways to impact winning to make it and to get onto the court. And that's what I feel like I learned by taking the route and learning, to make the best with what I had and learn to raise everybody else's levels. Because I think I've averaged maybe 10 points.
That is such a good lesson for I can't tell you how much that's going to resonate with our followers, with our viewers, because everybody wants, I'm seeing it at even my kids' young age. They're still in elementary school. They're in fifth grade, third grade, fourth grade. Everyone's answer is, well, let's just go join the better team. It solves everybody's problems. And I just think to hear them and hear you reflect on what you learned through everything you just mentioned, I think is so powerful. I think, are you referring to Draymond when he was speaking after they just finished the conditioning drills and he was addressing that group of guys standing around him? Yep. I watched that this morning. Somebody shared it in my feed, and man, what a message. For anyone who hasn't seen it, just go on social and find it, because his message, exactly as Larry just said, is so spot on about just what it takes to carve out a role and what it takes to, it was just an unbelievable message. And I think it goes hand in hand with what you just described. So thank you. That is, I think, if anything, that is the lesson of our whole show. If we could put our whole show in one little box, I think you just summed it up perfectly. I want to go back to the coaching a little bit that you alluded to. Was there a style of coaching that you felt that resonated the best with you, maybe that you gravitated towards or maybe gravitated away from? Like, especially, you know, in those younger years through high school, that when you're describing these coaches, what was their approach with you, or just your team in general?
So I found early on coaches were very passive with me when they first met me. Very passive. Like, you know, my dad was always in the stands. My dad was always watching at practices and everything. So they were very passive with me. Like, you know, hey, Larry, maybe we should try this next time. Or, hey, don't probably not make that pass. And then, like, as they got to know me, like, you can yell at me. I don't really care. You know, and I've played for a wide range of coaches, whether it's the coaches, almost like the players' friends that'll come up to you and kind of be real cool with the players, but then drop a little tidbit here and there. I've played for the hard nosed coach, the screamers, the yellers. None of them really bothered me. You know, as long as there's no disrespect, as long as you're not treating me as beneath you, and we're on the same level, just like, hey, as long we're in this together, you need me, I need you. Let's just go win this, and however we got to get there, I'm cool with that. As long as no one's above or beneath the other, is what I found. I've never had an issue unless it was a situation of hierarchy issues.